So today let's take a look at and into this big switching power supply module from eBay, and this one is 24 volts, 1000 watts, quite a powerful one, so let's take it from the box and explore it. It has those terminals here, the live and neutral of mains, ground, the negative and the positive, and some potentiometer for adjustment, and some warning. It's suggested that total power consumption of the loads to be connected be not more than 80% of the rate power of product. Please select the right voltage and power, shock hazard, and don't disassemble. Here is the voltage selector, 110 or 220 volts, even though on the switch it says 230 or 115. 110 and 220 is selected by switch before or by 4. Bloody hell! By 4 power on, please check input voltage avoiding damage. Here is the date code, 2021, month number 1, January, and here is this label. The input voltage is 110 or 220 volts, plus minus 15%, and the output is DC plus 24 volts, 41.7 amps. And of course this label is broken because I already took a peek into it, and to be able to take a peek into it I had to straighten this bent mounting hole and also this bent corner of it. It was treated horribly in the shipping and they dropped it, and this corner was bent, and also this hole was completely bent at a right angle. It was apparently dropped in the shipping at least twice. Once it fell on this corner and once on this corner of it. But anyway, now of course let's open it. There is one screw here, so let's unscrew it. And the other screw is here. So let's also unscrew this one. And it should open. And that's it. And here you can see the internals and this shield or insulation, which is meant to isolate this from the box, but it's completely loose inside of it. It was probably glued here, but it fell off. And it seems to be quite nice. It actually looks much more solid than the other power supply, the 600 watt one. And this one has the fan on the side of it. Also those capacitors are quite huge in it, and it looks nice here, some interference filter, some relay even, a lot of electrolytic capacitors at the output, and heat sinks with fans, which the 600 watt version doesn't have. Quite a big transformer, this one is vertical, and some inserted board, some small transformer here, some resistors, the fan. A DC brushless fan, 12 volts, 0.15 amps. But the power supply is 24 volts, so it has to have some separate output of 12 volts for this fan. So let's explore it a bit closer. Here's the input, live, neutral and ground. Here is a fuse, this interference filter with the capacitors, live to neutral, and the discharging resistor for them, this common mode interference suppression inductor, those capacitors going from live to ground and from neutral to ground probably, and this one goes probably from the output negative to the ground. Here is the NTC thermistor for inrush current limitation, which is probably then bypassed after the startup by this relay. And they probably put two bridge rectifiers in parallel. Here is the voltage switch, some small diode, capacitor, not sure what it is. Those huge capacitors for the smoothing on the primary side, 250 volts DC, 1500 microfarads. And they are of course in a series for the higher voltage mains, or they work as a doubler for the lower voltage mains. Another interference capacitor here, probably going from the negative of those capacitors or from the center point to ground via this screw. The control circuitry is on this small inserted board. I will have to remove it from the box to see it better. So before exploring the board any closer, let's remove it from the box, and let's also explore how the components are mounted on the heatsink here. One screw goes out from here, one is here, one was here but it went through the cover, and in this corner some screw, very hard to access actually, but it comes out. Now the question is this heatsink mounted to this? Is there any screw under the label? It doesn't seem so, but there are some screws here. The center one actually pushes the components to the heatsink here. Well, it seems that it actually pushes this heatsink onto those transistors, and then those transistors are on some aluminum plate here, and from this plate the heat goes into the box. So basically this heatsink is on the transistors from this side, but I guess that the thermal coupling from the silicon in the transistor to this side of the transistor is probably poor. The transistors are not meant to have a heatsink from this side. They are meant to be coupled thermally into the heatsink from the back side of it, which is metal. So I'm not sure how much cooling effect this heatsink has. And there is a lot of heatsink compound. In one transistor it actually goes through the hole, and there is a heatsink isolation pad which is mounted at quite an angle actually. The bottom right corner of this transistor almost has no insulation under it. And of course this heatsink might not cool the transistors well from this plastic side, but at least the heatsink is good to press the transistors evenly onto this heatsink. Because in some power supplies there is just some thin metal strip on it, and it actually presses the corner or edge of the transistor instead of its center. And then the other side of the transistor is actually a millimeter above the heatsink. But at least in this one the transistors seem to have a good contact with this heatsink. Now there is actually one more screw in the center of the board, and after I remove this, the board should come out. And now, does it come out? Yes, it comes out. And this heatsink is actually not mounted onto this. It's just mounted on the transistors, and it has screws. No, this is not screws. It has just some pins soldered into the board. And as you can see, no components from this side. And it's a single-sided board. No tracks from this side. And the corner of this heatsink plate is cut out. I don't see any good reason for it. Might be for better insulation distance from the secondary side or from something on the board, but, well, it's weird. Now let's unplug the fan and take the board out. It's on a connector, and it was also glued in, as well as this inductor at the output. And now let's further explore the components on the board. Now you can see this inserted board with some chip, some transistor or some voltage regulator chip, some electrolytic capacitor, and a lot of SMD resistors and capacitors and two tiny transistors. So this is the control circuitry of the power supply, and from the other side no components on this board, and behind it some Zener diode, some resistors, electrolytic capacitor, some transistor, some diode, capacitor, and those two big resistors are probably current sensing resistors in a series with the transistors, and they might be both in parallel, yes, just like in the other one, and a gate driving transformer, very similar to the transformer in the other one, the 600 watt one, and two big diodes and some snubber capacitors probably, and maybe some gate resistors and pull-down resistors, maybe some protective Zeners for the gates. This section seems to be very similar to the 600 watt power supply. And of course you probably ask what topology it is. It's a two-switch forward. So we have explored the entire primary section, and now let's go to the secondary section, which is isolated from the primary section via this optocoupler and this transformer. This one is just a normal optocoupler, and Here is the big switching transformer with a ferrite core and no air gap, because it's not a flyback. And the transformer has the main primary here probably, the auxiliary winding here and the secondary winding here on those terminals. And from the transformer it goes into the rectification diodes on this heatsink, and in this case it's 4 double diodes in parallel. The 600 watt one had just 2 double diodes in parallel. And from those diodes it goes into this output inductor on an iron powder core, and into those secondary smoothing capacitors, electrolytic ones, 2200 microfarads, 50 volts. And there are also some snubber networks for the diodes, probably series combinations of a resistor and capacitor for each side of the diode, and there is the voltage sensing circuitry here, with probably a 431 voltage reference, some resistors, capacitors, the adjustment potentiometer, indication LED, and that's it. And those resistors are connected to the output. They are the discharging resistors for those capacitors, but also they work as loading resistors, so it never runs with no load. And there seems to be some circuitry omitted here, and here is the connector for the fan. And there are some thick jumpers on the board, and that's it. And from the other side of the board, let's take a look at the isolation distances. This connection is the ground, and then the isolation line goes through here. Here it's a bit narrower, but there is a slot in it for safety, and then it goes through here, under the optocoupler, and here. So the isolation distance on the board between the primary and the secondary side seems safe, even though of course the distance could have been even bigger here. Not sure why those tracks coming from the optocoupler are switching their places here. Why it's not done here, where it's less safety critical. And you can also see that the board is kind of dirty. It seems like some liquid spilled on it and it dried out on it, and it's all dirty and disgusting. Quite dirty, and from the other side as well. There is something spilled in it. Almost everywhere. Here. That's weird. And the main primary switching transistors are the same type, the upper line, but they have a different batch number or date code, the lower line, which may suggest that those transistors are recycled, reused, taken from some e-waste, from some scrapped electronics, as they often do it with more expensive components in China. They disassemble components from some old trashed electronics and they sort them and reuse them. They often do it with power transistors, power diodes, but even with some ferrite cores and transformers, and even with some big electrolytic capacitors. Sometimes even with smaller components. And of course those electrolytic capacitors on the primary side are also probably used. This one is dented from this side and this side. I'm not sure if it's visible in the video, but especially this side of the capacitor facing the transformer is quite dented. And also this side of it is a bit dented. It seems like they desoldered those capacitors from some other device and pulled it out using a tool like this. And of course the label on the capacitor might be fake. It probably is. And of course the capacitors in the 600 watt power supply were dented even more, and they filled the dents with wax. And then they put those new heat shrink labels on it. So that was the optical examination of it, and of course in the next episode I will try to test it, and then I will probably also make an autopsy of this transformer. I will also find out if the windings in this transformer and this inductor are copper or aluminium. And I may make an autopsy of those capacitors, or at least try to measure them and basically measure the capacitance, the impedance of it, and remove this heat shrink and the plastic top to see if they are the same. Of course, they might be relabeled and they might be actually two completely different capacitors. But let's leave it for another episode. And this is Died Wild, and see you in my next videos, and thanks to all of my patrons on Patreon. I really appreciate your support. And of course you can also become my patron to support my channel and get early videos. The link to my Patreon is in the description, as well as the link to my Instagram. And of course in the next episode is the test of this power supply, maybe even the schematic and the autopsy of some components, and I also plan to take a look at and into this IKEA battery charger.